Divine justice, social and political. The Bible is the compass and the standard of the divine, social, and political justice. The concept of justice is well illustrated in the Bible. Divine justice, human justice, law, rules, all are promoted by God. Many ask if there is divine justice. It is foolish to ask this. Even the wicked cannot ignore the justice of God. Its purpose is to punish the wicked behavior and reward the good one. When God punishes his son, that doesn't mean he has no affection for his child. Hebrews 12, verse 8 started, "But if you are without chastening, all of which all have become partakers, then you are illegitimate and not son." Adding, the social justice and political justice have an important place in human society. Although political authorities provide justice to those they want, political justice is fragmentary. The justice is based on personal interests. It is a mixture of justice and injustice. Men distribute justice on their own ways. Frank Reynolds stated, "When the righteous and unjust is not bottom and we don't judge according to the categories, we are reduced to the moral cynicism, even nihilism." In the theory of the political of justice, one can verify that justice and injustice are juxtaposed. We live in a world that justice is reduced to the law of the strongest. It is like La Fontaine said, "The reason of the strongest is always the best." If we want to take a look at Palestine tragedy, can be detected clearly that might makes right. I got to repeat the same thing again. If we want to take a look at the Palestine tragedy, at the Palestine Quagmire, one can be detected clearly that might makes right. To justify this abuse, they claim it is self-defense. Please, do not play with the term or expression. Justice has nothing to do with self-defense. What is happening now in Palestine? We can declare clearly that the wolf is devouring a lamb. In what happens worse, there is no one who can help the sheep. The great powers cross their arms to let the wolf do what he wants because they are allies with the wolf. Men who consider themselves intellectual call this savagery, this barbarity, justice or self-defense. If this is the case of self-defense, we can say that also, despite I don't consider it. But if we consider what's happening now in Palestine is self-defense, we can say the Second World War could be also a case of self-defense. I go to repeat the same thing again. If we consider now what's happening in Palestine is self-defense, we can consider also the Second World War was a case of self-defense. People have to be careful in what they are saying in order to not insult others. Killing is wrong. Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler were criminals. Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler were criminals. Therefore, I'm not afraid to say everyone who is killing is a criminal. I should not be astonished if these criminals had allies during the Second World War. And it was one of the reasons that Joseph Stalin emerged victorious in Second World War, because he made a coalition with the strongest. And even today, we can see that those who are friends with the major powers will not suffer. They do whatever they want. They can kill and nobody go to stop them. They can do what they please, but there is no justice for them. But what they ask now, they talk about Ukraine. Yes, what did happen in Ukraine? It's really a quagmire. It's hard to believe that. But by the same token, we can talk also about what's happening in Palestine. It's a crime against humanity. The strongest will be always right because they make the laws. It is not just. It is not only an injustice to the people in Palestine, but it is unfair to the whole world. Martin Luther King said, injustice somewhere is an injustice in the whole world. Justice does not exist for those who have the power because they erect the laws and they promote justice in their own ways. Allen stated, justice does not exist. It belongs to the order of things that don't precisely because they are not. For example, the terror that Israel is sowing in Gaza, many call it justice or self-defense because justice is not easy to determine. The Falklands War or war in the South Atlantic between Argentina and Britain, its allies felt that the deceased Margaret Thatcher, who was Britain's Prime Minister, had the right to make war against Argentina in order to capture the Falklands Islands. War is in man an unjust amalgam within man. And it is impossible for man to separate those two impulses. According to Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, man is inhabited by two drives, which are the life instinct and the death instinct. They are inseparable, necessary to man, and would ensure that the world seems conform to nature, biologically, highly flawed, and practically almost inevitable. Injustice is an act of selfishness. Pride begets wickedness, crimes, hatred, and all this can lead to war. Pride, hatred, they control the world, especially Europe, and transform Adolf Hitler in demon. The pride of being the strongest in the Middle East transformed the region into castle, into a quagmire. James 4 verse 1 and 2 started, where do wars and fight come from among you? Do they come from your desires for pleasure that war in your members? You lose and do not have. You murder and covet and cannot obtain. You fight in war, yet you do not ask. Justice must be complete to make it justice. Partial justice is an injustice. It should not be personal, but general. It is a moral principle of social life. It arises on knowledge and respect for the right of others. It characterizes an internal value, a moral ideal, philosophical concept through the existence of man. We talk about social justice that governs human society to conform but it is not just or fair. I refuse to call it justice. St. Augustine said that human law is unjust. Men have laws to govern their social relation. Such human law are not true in itself, as the state continues purposes that are misleading by the profane law. Everyone has to make what is hard. Human law cannot be fair if it's make a God what is hard, showing closely to the biblical law. Justice is conscience. This is not a personal conscience, but a conscience of all humanity. A person must be conscienceless to be able to hear the voice of justice. And if he cannot hear the voice of conscience, he could also hear the voice of injustice. Conscience is the highest court. It surpasses all other courts, said Gandhi. Conscience provides to men the ability, capacity to judge well. A person must have conscience in order to care about justice. Romans 2, verse 14 and 15 is stated, "For when Gentiles who do not have the law, by nature do the things in the law, this all do not having the law are a law to themselves, who show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and between themselves their thought accusing or as executing them." The barometer of consciousness can lead us to provide justice to all humanity. Thank you. May God bless all.